Divorce Talk Radio does not give therapeutic advice. The topics discussed are for informational purposes only. If you are in need of therapy or counseling, please consult a licensed professional in your own state. Welcome to Divorce Talk Radio. This is Moving Forward. I am your host, Emily McGrath, with my co-host, Kevin McCarthy. How are you today, Kevin?
Emily, hey, how are you? And thank you for having me here, as always.
Thank you for being here, and thank you to our listeners as well for being here. Today, we're talking about a topic that I'm always dealing with, is Disney parents. I've diagnosed it as Disney parents.
Disney, just on a little sidebar here, Emily, then we'll go back. Actually, there's some acquaintances of mine that, and it turns out I didn't really know this or really didn't pay attention to it, but a lot of people get married at Disneyland and Disney World. Did you know that? I didn't really know that. I was just totally dumb by it, but yeah. But there you go.
Interesting.
But a lot of things take place at Disneyland and Disney World and amusement and theme parks overall.
Yes, so, and there's individuals in their own Disneyland.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and we'll put it nicely by saying just that. But, yeah. What would Roy Disney think at this time now?
I don't know. It's probably not what he had wanted.
Not at all. Mickey Mouse came a long way since Minnie.
Yes.
So.
Well, what I mean by Disney parents is either mom or dad in the individual family who gives the child anything and anything that they want, whether it be from sugar cereal to watching TV or pop, and no rules.
All right, so why would they do that? What would be the reasoning?
For the child to love them.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And children love their parents unconditionally.
Right.
No matter what, they love them unconditionally.
Chips are down with my kids. We might have had a little argument or something, but push comes to shove. Here comes little daddy. Dad's there for them. And but still, I think you bring up a great topic today.
But this way of parenting is not productive. It is a false sense of love, because it's all things or food or whatever the case may be. There's no discipline, there's no boundaries at all, and it can be hard on the other parent who parents with boundaries and discipline and healthy food. Because I deal with this on a weekly basis. But Dad says this, and Dad lets me do this, and Dad lets me have that. Okay, well, how do you deal with that? My way of working with this, because it has come up.
Because, for me, I would, not maybe just me, but in general, you would just want to make the kid happy because he or she's going home back to the other parent in 2 days. So you go out, you pig out, you order the third pizza that you had for the past 2 nights because the kid wanted it. Yeah. I mean, is that where we're going here?
Right. Yes. And what I do, and this may not always work, but I just explained to my son, you have 2 homes, and things are different at Daddy's house. Things are different at Mommy's house, and we have rules at our house, at Mommy's house, and we don't eat junk. I don't allow junk in the house. Occasionally I'll let him have a treat here or there, but it's not a regular basis. I want him to have a good breakfast, especially now that he's in school. He needs to have something that's going to stick with him, and I don't believe sugar cereals or Pop-Tarts or anything like that are going to sustain his learning and stay with him until snack time.
Right.
I prefer to do proteins and healthy fruits and not vegetables for breakfast.
No, boy, you really drive that kid back to dad real quick.
Jeez. Actually, he's very good about eating his fruits and vegetables, luckily. But it's a good idea to start off on the right foot for breakfast, because especially when they're 5 or 6, they're in kindergarten or first grade, you need to get them out the door with the full stomach and healthy food.
With the right food. Sure.
With the right
heck,
food, yeah.
We all want some bad stuff here and there. When I say that, of course, all of the junk food.
Right.
But breakfast, they do say it is the most important meal of the day, especially when you're younger.
Right. So I just explained to him that he has 2 different households that he lives in, and, I always say kids are in need of boundaries. They actually want boundaries and discipline, and they will thank you later on, and they'll be more tuned to have their own boundaries themselves later on in life and be more responsible.
And be more disciplined, especially when they hit the working world or going to college or therefore.
Or even high school.
High school.
Doing homework and making the right decision. And but it is difficult when you deal with that with your child, and then you're so-called the bad parent, and I've dealt with that. Oh, Mom, I don't like you because you do this or that. Okay, well, I would discredit that because they don't mean that. They just don't like the fact that you're not giving them everything that they want. Especially
at that age, they're not really thinking it through.
Right.
Emily, they're thinking, This is what I want now. They don't know the total aspect of it, but that's where the parent comes in place.
Right. And, you just have to remind them that you love them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe give them a hug and say, I understand, kind of like what we said in the last session. I know you're upset and you want this, whatever the item may be, but I love you, and we're gonna do something else. Or you can have a choice of, let's see, a peach or some strawberries, or a different snack if that's what they're after.
Right.
But give them choices instead of, oh no, you have to have this, because then that gives them a sense of, oh, I get a choice, and so that will kind of change the way that they're thinking and take them away from what they were wanting to. You get a choice, you get this or this versus no.
Right. Okay.
So or else, if they want to watch TV, well, let's do this or that instead of watching TV. Do you want to go outside and play, or do you want to play with a puzzle? And then that kind of gets their mind off of what that thing was that
sure,
they wanted.
Which they really want to play with is this toy or something like that.
Or they want to play a video game. I don't do video games.
Yeah.
Which I know he does with his dad, and that's great. That's a bonding time for them. But I don't do that. Let's do something else, and just change their mindset.
All right.
So, yeah.
Well, I know, too, with some of my neighbors that went through a couple of divorces here and there, they always wanted to please the kid when the kid was over to the house. So
right.
I remember one time they came back with this, battery-operated car or something like that. And so I asked him, hey, John, how come, where did this come from? Is it a birthday? Is it a special day? Is it something, is this maybe your or your ma bought it for the kid? Well, no, he was just acting up and so forth, and I wanted to calm him down, so he's telling me this. And I'm thinking, you know what you just did, buddy? Mm-hmm. Now next time he's going to complain again. Are you going to buy him another toy?
Right.
Or are you going to try to control things here? Mm-hmm. Again, we don't want to get into the, give in to the kid. You need to teach the kid.
Right. Well, and there's nothing wrong with saying no.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to say no, but you need to stick to the no.
Right.
Like we discussed in
one
a
of the other podcasts. Yes, yeah. No means no. And but in your case, I like the alternatives you would give instead of watching or playing a video game. All right, we're going to play a puzzle, or do you want to go outside and play or take a walk with mommy,
right,
with the dog somewhere and whatever.
Right. You want to give them options because then they have a choice, and then it's a different brainwave and way of thinking, and so it's like, oh, I actually have a choice.
Right.
Instead of saying completely no.
Mm-hmm. But think about how many parents out there and people we know that do become the so-called Disney parents just to make the kid happy. Why would you want to make a kid happy that's going, well, and when I say that, I don't mean it, of course, you want to make them happy, you want to make them love you.
Right. But when they're acting up.
But when they're acting up.
That just reinforces that bad behavior.
Sure does.
And then you have a nightmare on your hands, unfortunately. And there's other ways of dealing with that. You know, the child, it's difficult. It's very difficult to have a child who's used to getting everything with either their other mom or dad. And it's hard to snap them out of that. And another thing is then they think that they can play you against the other parent.
That's right.
Which is not something that you should try and start with your child. I would nip that in the bud really quickly. I know my child tried to do that a couple of times, and I didn't play into it.
And they don't have to be that old. They'll figure it out. They'll figure this out.
My son, I think, was 2 or 3 years old when he started that, and it's like, no, that's not going to work. You know, I usually say, oh, that's nice that Daddy let you do that, or something to that variation. And, you know, Mommy doesn't do that at our house.
No.
We don't have whatever the thing is that they want. And just giving them boundaries and knowing, maybe restating what the house rules are, and reminding them, you know, Mommy likes to have fun too, but we have fun in other ways, or, you know, something to that fact.
I know you could always control what happens at your home. However, there is the other ex-spouse that hopefully he or she will have some common sense to realize, look, I'm not going to give in to this kid all the time. Again, maybe, all right, you know, you go out and you get the kid an ice cream after dinner, and then he wants another one.
Yeah.
Or Dad, you're going to be buying more ice cream. Or every time you expect this, it's like, no, you look for that as a treat.
Exactly. And there's another issue that kind of comes with that, is the obesity issue comes with that.
Sure.
If, you know, the child is constantly getting sugary foods and pop, I don't allow my son to have pop. I just don't think it's something that he needs to have. It's not nutritional. It has no value of anything to it. He may have a sip once or twice, you know, from like root beer that does not have caffeine in it. But obesity is an issue. And if you're constantly having those foods in front of your children, then they're not going to know what to choose when they're at school to eat. And they have that decision. Do I eat something that's sugary, or do I eat something that's healthy for me? That's another topic that, you know, you want to have your children make the right choices. And providing them with those options is another way to help them make those correct decisions.
And it's okay once in a while, you know, for a kid to have a pop, but it goes back to where, you know, just to do it to please the kid, to make the kid happy.
Right.
Well, Johnny and Jane are happy. Let's give them another can of pop. Well, they're, you know...
and then you're wondering why the child's off the ceiling.
Sure. Yeah. He's buzzing around. And then the other parent sends Johnny or Janie home, and then the other parent has to deal with, why is this kid acting so differently? It's bad enough now just by one kid going to somebody else's house and the other parents are back, let alone, you know, adding more to it for the other parent to deal with.
Right. Exactly.
Whatever it is.
Right. And if you can talk with your former spouse about it, that's absolutely fantastic. Some parents don't want to talk about their parenting skills, but that is a discussion that you could have with them, and that is another show.
Just talking to the other spouse during the divorce, and then after, the post-divorce, too.
Right, having difficult conversations.
That was always difficult for me.
Yeah.
Especially as somebody that really messed with your mind, like you really want to talk to this person. Well, no, if there's a kid, but let's stick with this topic, is that the Disney parent side of things.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, it can be very difficult, but you can get your child back to where you normally have them and they behave well, and it's just that transition period I think is sometimes very difficult.
And it's been demonstrated here by you, other podcasts that we've done, that there are solutions to a lot of these problems. There are alternatives to a number of these problems. They just have to be practiced.
Right. And I like I've said in our previous podcast, communication is huge with your children, and just keeping those lines of communication open so that they feel comfortable coming to you and talking to you about it, because once those you don't have those lines of communication open, then things can go wrong.
Absolutely.
If they don't feel like they can trust you, then I don't even want to say what could happen.
No.
But it all stems back to communication, I think. Just talking with your child about the rules that you have in your house and reinforcing them that, we do have rules here, but we also have fun. I want to have fun with you, but we do also have rules. And I think in the long run that the children will be thankful for that, and they'll show that in the long run. I know it will be hard right now because I have issues with that now, with rules and boundaries, but it's good to have them and making sure you keep them and staying within those boundaries because it could be bad.
Now, there's only one other way, or actually one way I would look the other way on the Disney parents, is that if they're Disney grandparents. That is, to me, that's
they're grandparents. I wouldn't call them Disney grandparents.
Exactly. And you're right about that. Or that the grandparents could spoil the kid, and guess what? The kid has to go home, and the grandparents know that, and that's the job of the grandparent is too.
Exactly.
Give the kid the entertainment, because of course when you go home you have rules and should have rules and be disciplined and everything else. And the grandparents is an outlet, and I say that all in a jokingly way there, that the grandparents are only ones that could get away with this stuff. Okay. But not when it comes to the parents.
Grandparents are grandparents.
Yeah.
They have a little leeway there. As long as it's not taking advantage of the situation.
Now, with your business, for your divorce coaching, freedomfromheartache.com, do a number of your clients, Emily, tell you about their problems, such as this, when it comes to the Disney parent thing, or how do they make the kid happy?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's one of the topics that I deal with on a number of occasions, and that's why I'm always researching and looking for things to help my clients and myself, because that's what a good professional does. They're always learning. So I'm always trying to find new ways of doing things, new tools, and that's what I bring to my clients and here. Well, thank you, Kevin. I'm so glad that you joined us today. I think we covered a lot of good content here today.
Oh, we certainly
and
have.
I hope that we can get some feedback from our listeners, because I think this is another topic that is dealt with and not really know what to do with it. So you can, if you have questions or you have some topics that you would like discussed, you can email me at e.mcgrath@freedomfromheartache.com. You can also visit us at divorcetalkradio.net. Thank you again, and I hope you have a great week.